Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Happy Purse Day to you all. We are going to jump right into it today. We are going to get into a requested video about chicken soup, dog food. I'm not sure if they have cat food. If they have it, we'll look into that too. This is requested by several of my subscribers or viewers, and so we're going to do that today. Quick bit of housekeeping. If you are new, welcome. My name is Dr. Ray. I'm a small animal general practitioner, and on this channel, I answer your questions about pets and veterinary medicine in general. Most of the questions these days, and since probably the beginning of this channel, seem to head in the direction of pet food, and I understand why. There's a lot of conflicting information and maybe confusing information there, and so I have created this channel to try and simplify that for you. And so that's exactly what this is today. This is a simplification, and for some of you it may be an oversimplification of pet food. And so this is meant as a first line approach for people maybe that are just trying to understand a little bit better. It is for people that maybe just want to look at the package and glean as much information from that as possible. And mainly it's a way to train yourself to logically approach in a very simplified manner pet food. And so this is not meant to be a college level discussion. This is meant to be a very light and airy introductory way to get into pet food. And then certainly, if this interests you and you want to get a little bit deeper into it, there are certainly other channels for that. But for today, we are going to have some fun. It's going to be lighthearted, and we're going to go through the package. We're going to pick out some of the marketing things, and I'm going to highlight some of the things that I think are important that you should be paying attention to. We're going to weed out some of that information that is superfluous and probably doesn't mean as much as, maybe we confuse ourselves into thinking that it does. I invented, in order to help facilitate this and keep us focused, a pet food scoring system. I will put up this lovely little scorecard that I put together. Again, we're keeping it light and fun. There's just some 5 easy parameters that I like to take a quick glance at when I'm first line approaching food, and I think this might help you focus as well. And so we'll go through those as we go through chicken soup, dog food today. All right, and how we're going to do that is we are going to hop over to their website. Just so you know, this is a first look for me as well. So this is literally just how would go through it and how you could go through it. First time you're looking at a food, I don't prejudge the food. I'm totally going through this for the first time. I do make sure that the information that we need is available, because sometimes websites are a little bit sparse and packages are a little sparse. So in this case, I did email them for the information that we needed. I just typed in chicken. But otherwise, first time, first look, just like you guys. Chicken soup, dog food. Chicken soup for the soul, pet food. The name is really touching. I used to read those books when I was in high school, so they're definitely appealing. Here's the website. It's chickensouppets.com. They've got a couple new recipes. They say where healthy begins. And so where healthy begins. Now, I think it's important to know what the definition of the word healthy is, because a lot of the marketing that these companies use rely on not the definitions or the legal definitions or the pet food legal definitions, but the definitions that we formulate in our head. So the definition of healthy means in good health, not disease, indicative of or conducive to promoting good health. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go through this food and see if it's conducive to or promoting good health. They do have cat and dog, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think I only emailed the company about the dog, because that was the specific question that was asked to me at that time. Let me check really quick. Got so many emails I've got pending, and I'll go through maybe at the end of this video some of the emails I have waiting for future reviews. So if you're interested, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, do all that stuff, set up your notifications, because I do videos every week on Thursday, or at least I try to, and so I'll let you know what is headed your way at the end of this video. Yes, and so the food that I did was I asked, can I get the nutrient information on a dry matter basis for the classic puppy dry chicken, turkey, and brown rice recipe. So we are going to be doing a puppy formula today. So let's find that version. All right, there it is. There's the package. Really pretty package. I mean, obviously they're highlighting some of the ingredients that they use here, highlighting that it's a puppy formula. We're going to be checking that with the AFCO statement for the life stages. Let's see what the back of the package looks like. Okay, very small, going to be difficult to read. There's no way to zoom in, so we're going to go through kind of the information that they have highlighted here. Nutrition information, yes, please. Holistic pet for health. I'm just going to call that or point that out to you guys as a marketing buzzword. There is no definition in pet food for holistic, so they are allowing for your imagination to to take flight here. And so they are realizing they won't get in any trouble for using that word holistic because there's nothing legally that they have to adhere to it. But they are bargaining on the fact that in your mind, holistic means super healthy, very nutritious, but in reality, that word means nothing. So be careful when you're letting your imagination run, that you're not letting it run astray. And we are going to stay on track by focusing on the numbers and focusing on the parameters as we go through this. And since it's going to allow brain development, it's great tasting, it's going to have healthy skin, immune health, and healthy growth. We're going to jump right in. They're going straight into the ingredient panel here. On this channel, I do not dive into the ingredient panel. I do not think that that is a beginner introductory thing to focus on. There is a lot of ways that this is manipulated, so you really need to be in tune with the pet food industry, the standards, how this works, how this is listed here. It's listed on weight, including water. So basically, the ingredient list is a water weight list, and so this can be manipulated depending on how they want to list these things. So this one is chicken, turkey, chicken meal, turkey meal, cracked pearled barley, whole grain rice, peas, oatmeal, fava beans, chicken fat, etc., etc., etc. They are going to get, on my point scoring system, at least for our introductory approach, they're going to get 1 point because it's not grain-free. There are some implications for grain-free that are currently being worked through. All the answers aren't there yet, but in an abundance of caution, veterinary cardiologists are recommending avoid that for right now. So they're going to get a point because it's not grain-free, and they're going to get a point because it's not raw. I want to note, because I always get a million comments that say, well, raw is the best. This video is not about raw, and this video is about chicken soup for the soul. It's about evaluating this particular food. If your pet has a medical reason why it needs to be fed raw, that is between you and your veterinarian, because in general, and this this video and this channel is for the general population, not recommended, because there's some certain implications there with bacterial contamination and some other concerns that for the general population may not be appropriate. So again, this is on this food, and they do get a point because it's not raw. If you're a proponent of raw, that's fine. Not what this video is about. So yeah, just wanted to point that out because I know a lot of people want to comment about that particular point of the pet scoring system, but that is why that is there, is because this is a general approach. So 2 points on the ingredient list. Now, guaranteed analysis. This is another thing that I do want to point out for you guys out there. So guaranteed analysis is what you're going to find on the package, and that's fine. But there are two things that I think that everybody can very easily ascertain and very easily do that's going to get you a little bit more information that's more beneficial than this guaranteed analysis. This analysis, as you can see, is minimums and maximums. They're not absolutes. And so there's a lot of variability here that can sway these parameters quite a bit. The other thing that is a little bit, not necessarily deceptive, because these numbers are real, but can be a little bit less than optimal, is that these are on an as-fed basis, so it includes all the moisture. The textbook that I use to evaluate these foods is Small Animal Clinical Nutrition. I do have a link to it in the description box, a free online downloadable readable version to that textbook. It's an excellent textbook to understand where veterinarians are coming from. There's a lot of information, a lot of the science behind what we recommend. And so that textbook, these parameters, the optimal parameters, not AFCO, but optimal parameters, are listed on a dry matter basis. And so we need these numbers here on a dry matter basis in order to compare them appropriately to the text. And so I do have a video on converting them. them. But sometimes the easiest thing to do if you don't want to do that math or you're not into that math is just to simply email the company, and they will, they can provide that information a lot of the time to you. You need to call them anyway because we don't want these minimum maximums. So it's just very simple, just like I did, email them and say, I'd like this information, absolutes on a dry matter basis, and they can provide it for you. So I did that. And I specifically asked for calcium, phosphorus, protein, and fat. Fiber is on here too, but the fiber is a very, there's a lot of wiggle room in that one, and so I didn't specifically ask for that. Before we get into that, I do want to point out here, it is important that you check the metabolizable energy. This is the energy density of the food. You want to make sure that that's close to 4,000 or below. If it's above 4,000 significantly, there is a conversion that needs to be there too to account for the extra density of the food. The standards are on about a 4,000 metabolizable energy basis. So this one is, it's exactly what we want. So we're good there. And it's 411 kcals per pup. We're going to need that when we get to calculating the feeding guide. All right, let us pull, let's pull up the standards. So now there are two types of puppy. There's the regular puppy formula and there's large breed puppy formulas. That is a difference. There is a significant difference there. Large breeds require a different ratio of the calcium and phosphorus for appropriate bone growth. And so there is going to be a difference between a large breed puppy and a regular puppy. Regular puppy is in a puppy when it's an adult is less than 70 pounds. A large breed is going to be over. So that's how you know if you have a large breed or a small breed puppy. This is just a regular puppy formula. That's what was on the package. And so that's what we're going to evaluate it with. These are those standards. I just made a chart, small animal clinical nutrition. I'm going to place that over the guaranteed analysis because we don't need that. I'll pop here on the screen so that you guys can see it, what this food's actual dry matter basis is, and then we'll be able to compare. So chicken soup for the sole puppy food is coming in with a protein level on a dry matter basis as 33.23. Ideally, we want between 22 and 35, so that is good. They're going to get a point there. We need the fat to be between 10 and 25, and they're reporting it is 20.45, so they're going to get a point there. That's bringing us up to 4 points when we add in the ones from the ingredient list. They need a calcium at 1.87, or they're providing us a calcium at 1.87. That's a bit in excess. They're going to lose a point there. Maximum on that is 1.7, and phosphorus needs to be between 0.6 and 1.3, and they are coming up at 1.05. So they are going to get a point for the phosphorus, and that's a little bit abnormal. Usually the calcium and the phosphorus go together. If one's off, the other one's off, but in this case, for some reason, that's not exactly true. Fiber usually needs to be around 5%, and that's why it's not listed on this list. It's not that important in a puppy, but you can see this one is 5%, so I'm going to go ahead and give them a point for that. And so that's going to bring them up to 6 points so far, and I think that's a pretty good number this, at this point in the game here. Most of the ingredient panel is okay. We're a little bit excessive on the calcium. In a puppy, I'm not sure that is as detrimental as if you have excess minerals when you have a senior or even an adult dog, and so I'm pretty happy with this so far. Next thing we're going to do to evaluate this food is the AFCO statement, and I really do like this website. Other than this not being on a dry matter basis, they really have, the flow of this is really nice. I really appreciate it. AFCO statement needs to be on every single package in the States. So this is a legal requirement. They cannot mess with this. They cannot fiddle with this. They have to follow a specific way of writing things down. And this is actually very important because it's going to give us information about how this food was made and what this food was intended for legally. What parameters these guys have legally had to adhere to. And so this particular food says chicken soup for the sole, classic puppy, chicken, blah, 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 blah. They have to list the legal name of the food, is formulated to meet the nutritional levels established by AFCO for all life stages except the growth of large-sized dogs. And so what information have we gleaned here? we have found out that this food is formulated. The other option is feeding child. That's what we prefer. That's what they get a point for, is if they're feeding child. Formulated means they gleaned a recipe, or they gleaned a target recipe somewhere, and then they just went with it. They didn't try it out. They didn't test it. And so your pet, theoretically, and I know it's not true, but theoretically, the time that your pet eats this food could be the first time it's ever, reached the mouth of an animal. I know that's not probably true, but it's just kind of a way to get through your mind what formulated means versus feeding child. So ideally, I want it feeding child, so they don't get a point there. And then the second part is the all life stages part. And so ideally, you would like, if you're hunting for the best, ideally you want a food that's not all life stages. Now, puppy, there's a little bit of wiggle room again, because with puppies, they are one of the most rigorous life stage, so it doesn't matter if you're feeding necessarily an all life stage, with the exception of that second part of the sentence, which says, except for the growth of large sized dogs. That's where we're going to circle back to what I said about large breed puppies. And so all life stages means you can feed it to pregnant dog, you can feed it to a puppy. Those are the most rigorous life stage. They require the most nutrients. But they're also saying that according to AFCO, it's okay to feed this to an adult dog, a senior dog, a geriatric dog. And, even though it's okay to do that, it doesn't mean that it's optimal to do that. And so an optimal food, and that's what we're searching for in this channel, is optimal. An optimal food's going to have your pet specific life stage. So for example, what I would have liked it to have said was established by AFCO dog nutrient profiles for puppies or growth of puppies. And then the second part where it says, except for large sized dogs, meaning they're specifically excluding the large breed dogs. So this food, theoretically, according to AFCO, could be fed to any dog except for a large breed. But optimally, we would rather it say for our specific life stage, which would be puppy. So they're going to lose a point, or both the points there. So they're at 6. Still not a bad score at this juncture of the journey here. They can get one more point and bring that up to a 7 on the Dr. A's pet food scoring system. And so basically, my thoughts, and certainly you can let me know in the comments below how you would score things. My thought on this is if you get a 7 or above, you're probably pretty good. When you start to get below 7, it means there's been some significant deductions, and you're probably losing some deductions on the nutrient profile. And so I start to question that, and I start to wonder if maybe there's some better options out there. Now, I do want to make a note that as you're working through this food, if you're feeding this food and your pet is doing, perfectly fine, I'm not saying run out and change it. I'm saying have that discussion with your vet. On this channel, I do not make food recommendations. A lot of you guys ask me for food recommendations. I appreciate your trust, but I don't make food recommendations. I don't make brand recommendations, and I don't make medical recommendations for treatment of disease. I'm simply showing you how to work through the food. If you have questions about that, those are questions to ask your personal veterinarian, and I urge you, and part of this channel is urging you to open that dialogue and come into that conversation with some knowledge so that you can have a good conversation with your regular vet. And so that's what I want you to do. So again, 7 or above I think is a good food. 7 or below, I'm starting to worry there's some significant deductions. And so they can make it to a 7 if the feeding guide is correct. Now, the feeding guide is going to get a little bit difficult to read, because again, all life stages, they're going to try to condense this and make it work for everybody, and that doesn't always work. And so we remember that this was 411 kcals per cup. I do have a video on how to calculate your pet's resting energy requirement. In puppies, I will flash this up here so that you can see the chart, but in puppies, it's going to break it down into months. And so if your puppy is 4 months or younger, you need to use a multiplier that is, actually, let me go ahead and pull the chart up. Okay, so you're going to need to use a multiplier. So if your puppy is less than 4 months, you're going to use 3 times the resting energy requirement. If your puppy is over 4 months, it's going to use 2 times the resting energy requirement. And then when your puppy gets to closer to 9 months to a year, that's when you're going to start transitioning to adult food. And then I recommend there is multipliers for that, but I generally recommend for a regular sedentary animal just sticking with the resting energy requirement and adding up from there. And so let's see if they're on point here. The resting energy requirement, and this is just a little cheat we have on this channel. If you've been following me along, you know this cheat. We always use 20 pounds because the resting energy requirement for a 20-pound dog we've calculated about 1,000,000 times. And that's going to be around 366. If we take that number, 366, and we do the 3 times the energy requirement, it brings us to 1098. And then if we do the 2 times, it's 732. And so for a 4-month-old, and we're going to stick over here on this end, it's saying 3 1/3 cups. And then for a 6-month-old, it's saying, we're going to say 2 to 3 cups because there's a bit of a spread there. And we said it was 411. So 411 times 3.3. Recommending a little bit more. It's recommending 1,356 for a 20-pound. That's a bit much. It's a little bit over. 732 times 3. That's too much. Let me just verify that before I don't give them any points, but that's going to be too much. So our target, 3 times the resting energy requirement for a 20-pound dog was 1098. 411 times 3.3 is 13 is too much. So they're suggesting overfeeding 3 by quite a bit. I mean, they do give some leniency on some of these videos, but that's quite a bit. 3 cups at 411. 1233. If your dog is 6 months old, it really needed to be closer to 732. Yeah, 732. Yeah, no, that's way my math is correct. That's way out. So they're not going to get any points on the feeding guide. So they're going to stall out at a 6. And so again, take it as you will. If it's working for you, I wouldn't necessarily jump ship. It may be a conversation to have with your veterinarian. Things that we're, let's go through the pet food scoring system. And if you're following along with the lovely chart that I provided, we'll run through this. So for the guaranteed analysis, which is not really the guaranteed analysis because we contacted the company. We contacted the company for the numbers on a dry matter basis. They received good points. They received points for the fat, the protein, the fiber, and the phosphorus. So they got 4 points there, and that's pretty excellent. They lost all the points for the feeding guide. They lost all the points for the AFCO statement, and they got 2 points for the ingredient list, bringing this up to a 6. And so this was chicken soup for the soul. This was the puppy version. They do have other versions. They have the classic dry food, and they have different formulas there. They also have it in wet food. They also have it in grain-free, and we talked about why we would caution against doing that unless specifically advised by your veterinarian. Cat food they have as well. I did not call the company for the information. They have, again, the classic dry, the classic wet, and the grain-free as well. Now, grain-free in cats is not as big of a deal. So, that again would be a discussion to have with your veterinarian. But they do have those options that I'm sure you could contact them and, get the actual parameters on a dry matter basis for those as well. So that was chicken soup for the soul. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me today. I hope that this helps you understand a logical approach to work through some pet food, maybe remove some of the more, frustrating components and just really focus yourself. If you like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Come hang out with me every Thursday, and we will see each other real soon. Bye.